The WCR Championship is about to get underway for its second race of the weekend here at Balaton Park. Welcome to the Hungarian World Superbike round, and we're in for what is hopefully going to be a very interesting race as well, as we've had a few mixed condition sessions this morning. Chloe Jones was fastest by a whisker, and let's just see what they could all do in these tricky conditions. Okay, let's head back down to the track then and join our colleagues at World Superbikes as the World Feed talks you through the race.
Welcome back to Balaton Park. It is 14 minutes past 12 local time here, which is 1 hour ahead of the UK. And there is Britain's Chloe Jones getting ready to go here from 5th on the grid. That's the middle of the second row. They line up 3 by 3 for the second and final race of the weekend. 11 laps ahead of us for the FIM Women's Circuit Racing World Championship. This is Roberta Ponziani, the 28-year-old from Teramo with the Clint Forward Racing Yamaha R7, all on identical in terms of technical specification Yamaha R7, but of course different liveries. Roberta there is the teammate to Maria Herrera. This then is Bea and Carla Naylor, the two sisters. Bea is second in the championship, James Towsend, 18 points behind Herrera. So the only way Bea could lead the series at the end of the day is if Maria Herrera has some sort of trouble and Bea herself wins or finishes second. Interesting to see one of the marshals out there with the elusive leaf blowers, and was actually trying to dry a damp patch in front of that front row of the grid.
Yeah, I think what the safety car here, it's coming parked on the grid, and obviously it's carrying a bit of water on the undercarriage of the car, and when it's driven off, the guys are just drying it off, because as you can see, the track looks absolutely fully dry now. And as the kids get ready, they've just seen themselves on the screens. There you are, England Lionesses. They're wishing the girls good luck for the final as well in the European football. Can they be double European champions? I wouldn't put anything against them after the amazing semi-final that they went through, Greg.
Yeah, in fact, my good friend James from London, not this good friend James, but another one who I went to school with, he was actually in Switzerland witnessing all of the drama last week, and I know he was very excited. I think it went down to penalties, didn't it? Very, very tense indeed. Don't forget Jamie Hanks-Elliott as well, by the way, our second British rider on the grid, as we look at Paquita Ruiz. But Jamie lines up 21st, part of the famous, from Birmingham, Hanks dynasty of sidecar racing, and Jamie's getting to grips as well in her first season, her first full season of the World Championship. So they're still trying to dry the track, aren't they, James? You see the heat haze, it's very, very humid out there, but there are still some damp patches around which could cause some issues.
There are. You just got to be very careful on the brakes. This is a South African, Jessica Howden, number 52. Keep an eye out for her. But this could be a very close race. The weather is not as it was forecast. It's completely dry now, Greg.
Here we go, then. Maria Herrera, your championship leader, is third on the grid. Sara Sanchez there with the blue bike, second, number 64, and Roberta Ponziani, who's fourth in the championship, is on pole. Talking us through all of the action then are Anthony Nelson and Steve English. Let's get up to the commentary box.
A test of resilience awaits. In dry conditions, the pendulum has swung marginally back and forth between Herrera and Naylor since the start of this 2025 campaign. A war of attrition with single-digit point swings and fine details deciding each and every encounter. Here, in potentially uncertain conditions, any single mistake could be more decisive than any of the previous meetings combined. In approximately 25 minutes' time, the path to the 2025 WorldWCR title may become a lot clearer. 24 riders on this race 2 grid. We are missing Ornella Ongaro from France, who unfortunately sustained a right arm injury on the opening lap of yesterday's race 1. Here's hoping that she can be back for her home round in 6 weeks' time at Magny-Cours. But those are your 24 riders, 11 laps ahead as we start this warm-up lap. And as you can see on the track, Steve, we'll get our first full glimpse of how the conditions are all around this circuit. But at the start here, it does seem to be basically completely dry, except for maybe a couple of very wet patches along.
I spoke to quite a few of the Superbike riders in the gap between the Superpole race and the WCR race, and they've all said track conditions really good, a lot of grip out there, and everyone very impressed considering that whether we had the wet warm-up session this morning or the drying conditions for the Superpole race, that they were able to find grip out there. Spoke to some of the WCR riders after their warm-up session as well. Taylor Ralph on the number 8 machine just saying that the conditions were actually very good, and you could feel a lot of grip out there, even able to get down and properly get your knee down, even whenever it looked like there was quite a bit of sand and water out there. So that's always a good indication that you got a lot of confidence, even in these conditions.
Taylor Ralph was second in this wet warm-up session this morning. It was Chloe Jones who led the standings there, ahead of Ralph and Avalon Lewis in third. Our two main championship contenders, Beatriz Neyla and Maria Herrera, were down in 9th and 12th position. So a mixed-up order in the wet conditions. We can expect a bit more of what we saw yesterday's race. If it remains dry, a lot of clouds still around the circuit. The radar did seem to indicate that we might be safe for the race, but still a big question mark.
Yeah, this race is going to last, it's 11 laps. It's around about just shy of a 2-minute lap. So 11 laps, probably about 21 minutes. So as long as the rain stays away for the next 22, 23 minutes, we'll get a full race here for the WCR riders. There is rain coming. And again, speaking to some of the Superbike teams, they're concerned about that coming in. But that's for a problem for 2 o'clock rather than right now for these WCR riders.
As you had told me before, Steve, the crucial moment is when 7 laps have been completed, because that is 2/3 race distance in World WCR. If the rain came after that, the race would be finished at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, if we do end up having a shower in the middle of the race, it is very much timing dependent for when it happens, because if it happens before 2/3 race distance, we'll have a 5-lap shootout then at the end. And so it's one of those things for the riders that you put it to the back of your mind, and it's a problem that occurs when it happens rather than something that takes up your mind space now.
Championship standings, you see on your screen, 18 points between Herrera and Neyla at the top of the standings. There's further 56 down to Sanchez and Ponziani. That battle for third position split by 1 point, with Jones 26 points behind the Italian.
Turn 1, but more importantly turn 2, the pinch points here in the opening lap. We obviously saw in the WCR race yesterday, everyone able to get through cleanly.
Tension on the grid as the final few riders arrive. It was a long wait for the light yesterday. All riders seem to be in position now for this second race of the Hungarian round. The green flag is out at the back. We wait now for the lights. The final race before the summer break. Race 2 of the Hungarian round for World WCR is underway. Good start from Maria Herrera from third. A bit of a poorer start from Ponziani from pole position. Neyla seems to be up into second position. Sarah Sanchez, so wide. Sarah Sanchez going into that first corner. She'll lose plenty of positions. She'll have the cut back into turn 2 to move ahead of Ponziani there. Chloe Jones moving up to 4th position as well. I can't see the rider in front of it. It's Paquita Ruiz. Great start from Paquita Ruiz on the second row of the grid, but it is Herrera leading from Neyla, our top 2 in the championship, in first and second at the start of this race.
A wild start from Sanchez, and she gave herself the chance to try and take that inside line, but she got all crossed up trying to use everything to get the bike stopped. She's done well to be able to hold on to a top 6 place.
Yeah, Sanchez in 6th position. Poor start from Ponziani. She lost a lot of positions at the start there. The number 96 down to 7th position. Jessica Howden making a fantastic getaway as well into 4th position. The South African from 7th on the grid.
Beatriz Neyla made a great start from the second row of the grid and was lucky not to have that contact with Sarah Sanchez when Sanchez ran in deep. But look at the top 2. They've broken away ever so slightly.
And here we go, Chloe Jones trying to move down the inside of that first chicane here. Oh, and Jessica Howden has gone very, very wide. She's going to lose 3rd position. Paquita Ruiz has lost a lot of positions as well. She's down to 5th from 3rd. Sarah Sanchez will move across Howden into the hairpin at turn 11. Howden drops all the way down from 3rd into 6th position, just ahead of Ponziani. And our front 2 has started to break away. But Jones yesterday, the rider with the best pace to be able to match Herrera and Neyla, she's on their back already.
Yeah, she's already been able to find 4/10 of a second just once she came through, and how she was able to have a really good run through 9, 10, 11 and then onto that back straight.
Further down the field, top 10 completed by Budasol, Lewis, and a good start from Madrigal. Sarah Sanchez attempts to move into our top 4. She can't quite get it done into that final chicane. Paquita Ruiz remains stable in 4th position after a bit of a difficult start for the number 46, but she is back now into 4th place. So our top 3 crossing the finish line at the start of lap 1. Herrera, Neyla, Jones. Herrera with a 3/10 of a second gap over Neyla, then a further 6/10 of a second back down to Jones. Sanchez again thinks about a move into turn 1, can't quite get it done. Ponziani, however, is up into 6th position ahead of Jessica Howden. The South African rider, after a very spirited start, started to lose positions at the start of race 1.
Yeah, and for Howden on the number 52 machine, that mistake on the opening lap, very costly, because she went from 3rd down to 7th. But if she's able to keep herself in that 7th or 8th position, it's a decent weekend for her.
Chloe Jones closed the gap down to Beatrice Naylor. Can she think of a move down the inside into turn 5? She's not quite close just yet, but that gap for about half a second has dropped to 1/10 just in the first sector of this Balloton Park circuit. And now it's a big gap down to Ruiz. It seems like Ruiz is holding up the likes of Sanchez and Ponziani, who had a bit more pace yesterday, but they're stuck down behind the number 46 in these early stages. Jones thinks about a move down into turn 9, can't get it done. Sanchez can't get ahead of Ruiz, and that gap is starting to open up between our riders in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Budasel just looks like she came through in Howden there as well on the number 17 bike, and Howden tries to fight back around the outside at 11, doesn't want to see that position.
Can't quite get it done. The French rider down in 8th position. She was in 9th in yesterday's race after the phenomenal performance at the UK round. A bit of a step backwards from herself into the chicane once again. Turns 13, 14. Those positions remain stable. We have 3 groups now, all of them split by around about a second. Herrera, Naylor, Jones at the front. Ruiz, Sanchez, Ponziani in that battle for 4th, and then Howden, Budasol and Lewis. Sanchez, finally, will she make the move ahead of Ruiz? No, she's not late enough on the brakes into the final chicane, and Ruiz hold firm.
The reason for that is with the standard forks, it's so easy to bottom out at the bottom of the stroke once you're on those heavy braking zones. You need to have a lot of confidence, and obviously after the change in conditions from yesterday, it takes a bit of time to build that confidence.
Fastest lap of the race for Chloe Jones in 3rd position, a 1:54.1 for the British rider. That was around a 0.3 of a second faster than Naylor, 0.4 of a second faster than Herrera. Ruiz now losing 2 positions in that battle for 4th. She'll have the inside on against Ponziani, can't quite get it done against the Italian rider. Ruiz drops from 4th position down to 6th. Now it's Sanchez who will try to close that gap, 1.6 seconds between herself and Chloe Jones in 3rd.
Let's see if Chloe's able to try and attack Beatrice Naylor down into turn 5. She's a little bit closer this lap around.
She tried it last time, wasn't close enough then, but has she closed the gap in this first sector? The number 15 thinking about a move, not quite close enough. Positions remain stable there. Paquita Ruiz thinking about a move down the inside of Roberta Ponziani in that battle for 4th position. Did she get it done? No, the positions remain stable there, with Jessica Howden in 7th, around about a second adrift. Evelyn Lewis and Lucy Budasel seem to have fallen back a little bit from the South African rider, around about half a second between them. This is the battle for 4th position there. Nearly 2 seconds now between Sanchez and Jones, and the time to be able to close that gap is running out very quickly for the number 64. It's so difficult to be able to bridge those gaps when they start to develop.
Sanchez just doesn't have the pace to be able to bridge that gap. It's 2 seconds. It's a battle for the top 3, and it's a battle for the next 3.
The question now is she holding up Roberta Ponziani? Because the number 96 has been a rider who in the past has had very good pace at the start, but not been able to necessarily to make those moves. Here is a race start. We'll see that moment from Sanchez into turn 1.
Yeah, keep an eye on the 64, and you can see there Paquita Ruiz getting herself in a position to attack as well, but Sanchez just breaks way too deep into the corner, and she's lucky that she doesn't clip the front of Beatrice Naylor there as well, but managed to get it collected, didn't lose too much time or speed or positions from it, but yeah, just a big mistake there from Sanchez into turn 1.
Yeah, Sanchez threading the needle, to put it very, very kindly, to the number 64 between our 2 main championship contenders. Fastest lap of the race once again for Chloe Jones, but the pace has increased from that front trio. They are into the low 1:54s now.
Track conditions clearly very good. It's only 0.6 of a second slower than yesterday's fastest lap, and considering that we've had all that rain, there are still some patches of damp out there. That just shows how good the grip is here right from the start, even with a green track. And Chloe Jones last time around was really interesting. Herrera set the new fastest lap, then Naylor, then Jones. So they're all really closely matched, but the last 3 laps it has been Jones that's been the faster.
Twice we've gone into turn 5 and Chloe Jones has thought about a move over Naylor. Can she get it done this time? No, she can't. Not quite close enough. They're all keeping their powder dry in these early stages. There's nothing to be gained in these opening laps, but it is very, very tight between our top 3 in this race. Our top 3 from race 1 yesterday as well. Behind Sanchez is starting to break away a little bit from Ponziani. It's half a second now between the number 64 and the number 96, who isn't quite able to follow. Paquita Ruiz 0.3 of a second behind Ponziani. She lost around about half a second to the number 96 on the previous lap, but seemed to have similar pace on this one. And behind, Jessica Howden not quite able to break away from the likes of Evelyn Lewis and Lucy Budasol in that battle for 7th.
Yeah, for Howden though, if she's able to hold on to that 7th position, it's a really good weekend with 2 7th place finishes, and big step forward. But Ponziani, you can see here on the number 96 machine, just giving up a little bit of ground. A few times we've seen Sanchez on the 64 get herself out of shape. She's pushing as hard as she can.
Naylor thinking about move into the final chicane, isn't close enough, but starting to study the lines from our championship leader, Maria Herrera. She's leading this race, has led from lap 1 at turn 1. But can she hold on the rest of the race? So 4 laps into this 11-lap sprint, and another fastest lap from Chloe Jones, 1:53.7 for the British rider. This time, is she close enough to Beatrice Naylor? No, she isn't. But these 3 riders have now dropped into the 1:53s, around about 0.4 of a second slower than our fastest lap from yesterday.
Yeah, we saw Chloe on the grid with her flag for the Lionesses for the European Championship final tonight. Well, she's putting up a fair fight right now as well to give herself a chance of trying to claim her first race victory in the WCR, and it's been really good to see Chloe over the last 2 rounds really make that step. She's gone from being in the top 6 to fighting it out for podiums, fighting for the race win, and she's been the fastest rider on track for each of those last laps.
Naylor thinking about move again into turn 5, can't quite get it done. We focus on a number 15, has become a bit of a fan favourite amongst the British fans in the recent last few races, even getting some support and words of support from Carl Fogarty on Friday afternoon on social media. Can't replicate them if I want to keep my job here, but good to see her getting the support from such a legend of motorcycling, of British motorcycling and world-class motorcycle racing. So we go through the chicane once again, turns 9 and 10. Very, very tight between these 3. Sanchez seems to be closing down the rhythm, the gap, very, very so slightly over this lap.
Herrera went in a little bit hot into 9, and that put her offline for 10, and it just bunched up the group a little bit. Let's see if the run through the next chicane gives the 36 of Beatrice Naylor a chance to attack into turn 15.
Here we go. That second chicane of the lap, turns 12, 13, into the long left-hander of turn 14. You can set up the move here around the outside. Beatrice Naylor is certainly thinking about it over Maria Herrera. Can she go into the chicane? No, she can't. The positions remain stable with Herrera, Naylor and Jones, but they're certainly starting to think about a move there, and Herrera, despite that mistake, remains in first position and leading from the front.
Yeah, and you can see here with Naylor using that toe down the start-finish straight, but to go around the outside into turn 1 is going to be brave.
And Jones will have a double slipstream as well. It does seem like Maria Herrera now pushed back to 3rd position from 1st place. Here is the team of Chloe Jones, who is now in 2nd position, but Beatrice Naylor leads for the very first time in that race. And now the challenge is for Herrera to be able to keep up with these 2 riders. She certainly has the pace, but those couple of mistakes that we've seen from her so far may be the difference for the number 6. Beatrice Naylor will certainly try to break away. Chloe Jones very close as we go down the small back straight down into turn 5. Not close enough, no moves here. Herrera now has a chance to study her rivals. She's closed up on Chloe Jones on that back straight. She will have the double slipstream in those small straight sections of this track, Balloton Park circuit. Not necessarily the easiest track to be able to overtake in certain positions. You don't have that slipstream like you would on the back straight at Donington Park or some of the other tracks that we've had on this year's 2025 WorldWCR calendar.
Yeah, this is a track position circuit, and putting your bike in the position where you're able to try and attack. It looked like Chloe Jones' foot off the peg there just through 9 and 10. She's been out of shape a few times. Turn 5 again, they're trying to get the bike stopped into 11.
And Sanchez and Ponziani are slowly closing that gap. They were faster than our leading trio on that previous lap. It's gone down to 1.5 seconds on this lap. So the number 64 starting to find some pace, combined with those small mistakes that we're seeing from our leading trio. Here they are, Sanchez and Ponziani. Ponziani close to the number 64, once again following her lead towards that leading trio.
Yeah, for Sanchez, she was 0.4 of a second faster than Herrera in the first sector, 0.4 of a second faster in the second sector. So she's pulled back a lot of time now as the riders in front start to fight it out a little bit. All it's going to take is that fight to continue, and then maybe that gap can get down to under the second.
And they've definitely dropped Paquita Ruiz at this stage. Number 46 is 2.4 seconds back, and in a safe 6th position. It would be the 4th consecutive time that she finishes in 6th position in World WCR. I think it was a 9th overall. Fastest lap of the race, Sarah Sanchez on number 64 bike, a 1:53.7, 0.2 of a second faster than Naylor Jones, and 0.7 of a second faster than Herrera, who lost the lead on the previous lap. Still stable positions at the front, around about 3/4 of a second, the gap between Naylor Jones and Herrera. This will be the position on the place on the track where they can think about attacking Naylor, but we still haven't seen any moves into turn 5 so far.
Yeah, you can see though for Naila, she's got her head down and she's given herself the chance to be able to take Chloe Jones with her as well. And for Herrera last time around, she was 7/10 of a second slower than the riders behind them. So we'll see if Herrera's got much that she's really able to answer back with at this stage.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle these last couple of laps for Maria Herrera. 0.3 of a second to Chloe Jones. Still a long way to go. We are 7 laps into this 11-lap race, and we're going to see here if Sarah Sanchez can cut that gap further. It's down to 1.5 seconds. Quite stable on this lap, but Sanchez does seem like the rider with the pace with just 5 laps remaining. It's not a case really of these riders necessarily slowing their paces in the high 153s, both Naila and Jones, but Sarah Sanchez is the rider who seems to have found an extra gear at this stage of the race.
Yeah, Sanchez in the first 2 sectors always very fast. But it's so difficult to make up big chunks of time here. A couple of tenths of a second seems to be what you can gain on someone over a single lap. But she needs to find more than that now that we're up towards just 4 laps to go when they come across the line.
It's a 1/4 of a second in the third split, so Sanchez seems to have found something there. The gap will be around about a second when we cross the finish line. We have reached 2/3, or we will be reaching in a few seconds' time, 2/3 race distance. Maria Herrera starting to think about a move on Chloe Jones for second. Will she get the inside line down into turn 1? The number 6 is late on the brakes, but she won't have the position to tag number 15. Well, she certainly thought about it. I think that was a bit later than she probably expected. But number 15 cutting her nose off into turn 1, and that's given Naila a bit of breathing room. 6/10 of a second now, the gap between the number 36 and Jones in second.
I do love the no-holds-barred style from Chloe Jones, and she really wants to attack at all times.
And I think it's made a little bit easier by it being Herrera, the rider, trying to attack her from behind. No love lost between them in the last couple of rounds. We go down to turn 5 once again. Herrera not close enough to Jones, and Naila breaking away a little bit. The gap is stable around about 1/2 a second. This is given the number 36 a bit of breathing room before the final lap. Certainly nothing quite definite. That gap 1/2 a second could be cut in the next couple of sectors, but a few stable laps of the number 36 to be able to regain a composure, lead from the front, and save some energy for those final few stages of the race.
Yeah, and you can see that for Ponziani on the 96 bike and for Sarah Sanchez on the 64 bike, they're riding as hard as they can, but they're just not able to make up that bit of time that they need.
Now, they've been making up around about 2/10 of a second over the last few laps. It was a 153.4 from Ponziani on the last lap, the fastest lap of the race. Sanchez also into the 53.4s with our leading trio around about the 53.6, 53.7, but it's not enough with just less than 4 laps remaining at this Balloton Park circuit. And actually in this lap, Sanchez has dropped 1/2 a second to Herrera. So whether that's a question of our leading trio up in the pace a little bit, or Sanchez and Ponziani just not having that extra gear at this stage of the race remains to be seen. We will get the times from that last lap when they cross the start-finish straight, but it will be 3 laps to go now for our lead, for all of our riders, and it was a fastest lap from Chloe Jones in 153.277. Does she come under attack from Maria Herrera into turn 1? No, she doesn't this time. And Sanchez defending from Ponziani in 4th position, and they have completely been dropped now. 1.3 seconds a gap between Herrera and Sanchez. Our leading trio 0.2 of a second faster than these 2 riders in that battle for 4th.
It's interesting in this race because Chloe Jones has had so many fastest laps, so many times she's been the fastest rider in the group. She's never had track position, so we'll see if she's able to give herself that chance up against Naila. But
0.2 of a second, the gap between Naila and Jones. Now you can see that gap, how it has decreased over the last few moments of the race. Ponziani was thinking about a move for 4th position, couldn't quite get it done. Ponziani rider who sometimes struggles to make those sort of moves to be able to force it. And for Chloe Jones, it may be a case of her having to force that move in these final couple of laps of the race. As you mentioned, Steve, she has the pace, but she hasn't quite been able to prove in terms of track position. Still in second, and these positions also remain stable in that battle for 4th. We go around turn 11. We focus on Paquita Ruiz. She's been dropped back a few laps ago in 6th position at number 46. Behind her, it's Evelyn Lewis, Jessica Howden, Lucy Budasel, and Astrid Madrigal, who have fallen back in the battle for 7th position. They have been dropped from the start of this race, around about 10 seconds behind our race lead.
yeah, this is important as well in context for the battle for 3rd in the championship. We can see for Ponziani, she's a point behind Sarah Sanchez coming into this race, so whoever finishes ahead ahead in this battle is going to take over that third position.
But it's been Chloe Jones with the momentum over the last couple of rounds, and she's closing that gap quite quickly to those two riders. Although now in the context of this race, as Maria Herrera seems to have a little bit more pace than the number 15. She's closed that gap right up just 0.2 of a second, while Beatriz Neila sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:53.1. The number 36 is pushing at this stage. Ponziani thinks about a move into turn 1. She can get it done, and she moves up into 4th position in this race and provisionally into 3rd position in the championship standings.
Yeah, a couple of tenths of a second faster than we went yesterday. So obviously everyone's getting faster and faster as the weekend goes on and knows and understands the track a bit more. But most importantly, it just shows that there's good grip out there for all the riders, and the conditions are good. The
conditions have remained stable this race as well, with less than 2 laps remaining. Should things finish as they are, with Neila in 1st and Herrera in 3rd, the race won yesterday results would be effectively cancelled out, and we would go into the summer break with a 9-point gap in the championship standings.
Ponziani over those last few laps on the 96 machine, able to be faster than Sarah Sanchez. Let's see if she's able to open up that gap and really consolidate that 4th position now that she's through.
Yeah, it'll be a bit too much to ask her for her to be in this battle for the race lead and for the podium position. 2.6 now, the gap between Herrera in 3rd and Ponziani in 4th. Herrera's now been in 3rd position for quite a few laps since she was overtaken by both Neila and Jones on the start-finish straight. Keeping her powder dry, or a case of her not necessarily having that little bit of an edge that she's had in recent rounds?
I think she just doesn't, she hasn't had the pace to be able to get alongside Chloe Jones trying to attack her, and Maria just doing what she can do at this stage. But in terms of the championship right now, the points that Neila lost yesterday would be negated, and Herrera ends up in the same position. So as it is, it would be back down to 9 points, 4 races remaining, all to play for between them.
This is the battle for 7th. In a few moments' time, we will start the final lap of the race. It's Beatriz Neila leading across the finish line ahead of Chloe Jones and Maria Herrera. They are on the run into turn 1 according to our track map. Chloe Jones has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:53.0, 0.2 of a second faster than Neila and Herrera.
That's a really impressive lap there from Chloe Jones on the number 15 as well, because she was at 0.3 of a second faster than Beatriz Neila in the final sector to come across the line and give herself that chance in the final lap to be able to fight for the race victory. And for Chloe Jones, we'll wait and see what happens for her. They're heading down in towards turn 5, one of those overtaking potential spots on the lap as we catch back up to them.
Here they are, 0.3 of a second, the gap between Neila and Jones for this race lead. The number 15 has been strong through that first sector, but can't quite bridge the gap with our race leader. And Maria Herrera does seem to have been dropped off on this final lap, half a second between herself and Jones. So it seems like the battle for the race lead will be between the number 36 and number 15. This was the situation that we had yesterday in the battle for second, when Beatriz Neila made that mistake going into the final chicane. She's under pressure now, once again, from the number 15, 0.2 of a second with half a lap remaining as we go around the hairpin at turn 11 for the last time.
New personal best in sector 2 for Chloe Jones as well, so she really is trying to push everything she has to give herself that chance into turn 15 once again.
She is pushing so hard now, the number 15 into turns 12 and 13 for the last time. Then it'll be the left hand of turn 14. The gap still is quite large between Neila and Jones, 0.4 of a second as 0.4 of a second as we head into the final sector. Not close enough from Chloe Jones. Can Beatriz Neila make it safely around the chicane?
Chloe Jones made a small mistake into the previous chicane. That's what opened up that gap.
0.4 of a second. It won't be close enough for the number 15 to attack as we go onto the start-finish straight. Beatriz Neila, for the 3rd time in WorldWCR, wins race 2 here at Hungary. Her 3rd race win in WorldWCR class, and she cancelled out race 1 yesterday. 9 points in the gap in the championship standings, ahead behind Maria Herrera. Chloe Jones, 2 consecutive podiums for the British rider. A fantastic Hungarian round for the number 15, and Maria Herrera crossing the finish line in 3rd, 0.6 of a second, the gap between herself and Chloe Jones in that battle for 2nd, 0.8 of a second, the gap to Neila in the lead. And 4th was Roberta Ponziani, 0.3 of a second, the gap between herself and Sanchez on that final lap. Paquita Adriz crossing the line in safe 6th. Then it was Avalon Lewis, Jessica Howden, Lucy Budasol, and Astrid Madrigal completing your top 10. But here is our race winner for the 3rd time this year, the number 36, and keeping Herrera honest in that battle for the championship.
Yeah, 9 points between them, 4 races remaining. it sets up nicely for the last couple of rounds in Magny-Cours and then on to Jerez in October. But I think for Chloe Jones, we can see here in the number 15 bike, she's only 19 points down in third in the championship, and she's picking up big points all the time now.
Fantastic job from Chloe Jones. That's 19 points to Ponziani in third, 18 points to Sanchez. It's 1 point the battle for third position between the Italian rider on that number 96 bike and Sarah Sanchez, the number 64. But the momentum in that battle has been with the number 15 over the last couple of rounds. A rookie, we need to remember as well in this World WCR class, her first time on his Yamaha R7s. So Maria Herrera, third position, as she was in race 2 at Donington Park a couple of weeks ago. She didn't have the pace on Friday necessarily when we went into Superpole and free practice. Naylor had been faster than her all weekend, so it must be said, even with the win for the number 36, it can be seen as a bit of a positive weekend for the number 6, just to maintain that championship gap stable.
Yeah, that's what makes it so difficult to be able to beat Herrera for the championship, because you know that she is going to give herself those chances to always be on the podium. But Beatrice Naylor has shown that as well this season, and we mentioned it at the start of the weekend, the penalty for exceeding track limits in Assen. The difference between Beatrice Naylor and Maria Herrera is 9 points now. If it wasn't for that, it'd be a point in Naylor's favour, and then it really would be game on. But I think for Naylor, she'll know that there's a real chance still to win this championship. 4 races and anything can happen, and we saw Maria make mistakes last year.
But there have been so many moments like that in this championship. As you mentioned, Steve, the green paint in Assen, but also that lunge into the final couple of corners at Cremona in race 2, which effectively cost Beatrice Naylor a position there, dropping from second to third. That's another 4 points. Then the mistake, let's say, from Herrera on the final lap of race 2 as well, dropping her to third position, even potentially dropping her even further back than that, as she was needed off the podium entirely. So it's those very fine margins which have been crucial, but it's happening a lot. It's happening just about every race this season.
I think we've been able to see in the WCR a big step forward in terms of the speed from everyone. It's been interesting talking to a lot of the riders that they're going a lot faster than they went last year, but it's a lot more difficult. You're having to be in bigger groups, and some of the riders that haven't made that step forward from last year, they're just falling further and further down the field. Riders that were in the top 10 last year suddenly scrambling around for a point.
So Herrera onto the podium for the 8th time this season. Naylor and herself have been on every single rostrum this campaign. It will be the 10th consecutive podium for Beatrice Naylor, just 2 shy of the class record set by Ana Carrasco in the 2024 title-winning campaign. Here she is, the number 36, coming through once again. She seemed pleased with the podium yesterday, but I think we can expect much wilder celebrations here for race 2. Fantastic job there. The family, her team next to her, ready to celebrate ahead of race 2 here of the Hungarian round. It did remain dry all throughout, which is, I think, what we were hoping to see. Maybe not some of the riders who were further down the field and had that pace advantage going into a warm-up, but for all of these riders, we've had ideal conditions in the end on track, despite all this the uncertainty. Here's Chloe Jones, another podium, 3 podiums over the last 4 races. Could have been 4 out of 4 if not for that incident at turn 11 for the number 15. Really making a name for herself at this stage of the championship, and now she'll go with that momentum into the summer break and onto 2 circuits, which, well, Magny-Cours, which she will not have raced at in the past, and then it's Jerez, where she made her debut in the class last season.
And did really well last year in Jerez as well. So for Jones, there's nothing to fear going into these last 2 rounds, and she's been able to do a great job here. And you can see Ana Carrasco down there as well, last year's champion.
Yeah, 2024 World Champion Racing in World Supersport this season, always down in Parc Fermé, there to congratulate the riders after the races in World WCR, and in particular good friends with Beatrice Naylor, and providing her support for the number 36. So here are the final results from that race. It was 4.6 seconds in the end, the gap between Herrera and Ponziani. We didn't see much between them on the final lap between Ponziani and Sanchez in that battle for 4th. It was around about a 1/10 of a second at one point, opened up to around about 3/10 of a second at the finish line, but 4 seconds falling back quite heavily in those final few laps from our leading trio. Then it was 10 seconds from Neyla to Ruiz in 6th position, 15 down to Evelyn Lewis in that battle for 7th. So she eventually won that battle over Jessica Howden. Jessica Howden made such a spirited start, but that mistake going into the first chicane on the first lap really conditioned the rest of her race.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you really can't afford to lose touch with the group in the WCR because you need to have such a big pace advantage to make up for that.
Here are the championship standings. 9 points is the gap between Herrera and Neyla, 60 points ahead of Roberta Ponziani in 3rd position. Further down the field, Paquita Ruiz is stable 6th position as well in terms of the championship standings. And Lucy Budistol moving up to just within 1 point of Astrid Madrigal in that battle for 7th position. They are on 61 and 60 points now, respectively. The Mexican rider and the French rider just at the bottom end of the top 10 in this race 2 at Balloton Park. So we'll hear in a few moments' time from our podium trio, starting with Maria Herrera, 3rd position. She continues the podium streak. The gap in the championship falls to 9 points.
Maria, not an easy race 2 for you, despite finishing in 3rd position. How was it?
Yeah, difficult race. I didn't expect Neyla overtook me too easy on the straight, so a disappointing race, but happy with the point because it's very important for the championship. I'm happy for finish the race because too difficult for me on the straight. I recovered everything on the breaking point, and yeah, that's all. And we see in Manicurs.
See you in Manicurs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Herrera, 3rd position in race 2 here at Balloton Park as we get this slow motion shot of the number 6. That is her 17th podium in the class as well in 20 starts. Just the 2 crashes in last year's races, as well as a 4th position finish in Donington Park. The only races in which the number 6 hasn't finished on the rostrum in the class.
Yeah, we've been able to see Maria as consistent as ever and fast in each of the Super Pole sessions, taking those first 2 pole positions before we saw Beatrice Neyla step up the last couple of rounds.
Back-to-back podiums for Chloe Jones on number 15 bike. 2nd position once again in race 2 on Hungarian round.
Chloe, double podium for you here in Balloton, the 3rd one in the last 4 races. You should be delighted, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm over the moon. Obviously, to just been told I got lap record as well. It's amazing, and it just shows that Donington wasn't a one-off, and to do 2 podiums here, unbelievable. I can't thank my whole team, my family, everyone, my sisters, just everyone for getting me here. It's been a long road, but now we're showing what we should be here.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great words from Chloe.
Chloe Jones there saying that it proves that Donington Park was not a one-off, and that was what she needed to do coming into this Hungarian round to prove that it wasn't the home ground advantage. You've been mentioning it all weekend, Steve, that it was just a very small step that she needed to make. Before that, she was already quite consistent in terms of her results, but now she is firmly in race win contention and a rider we'd expect to see in that group every weekend.
And the comparison you can make is to Beatrice Neyla that we see now, because if you think back to last year, Neyla was a disappointment for most of the season. Everyone expected as 4-time European champion that she was going to be right there with Herrera and at the front with Carrasco, and instead it was Sarah Sanchez that was the surprise package last year. Neyla this year has stepped up to be the rider everyone expected her to be last year. Chloe Jones will look at that as be the inspiration for next year, because Chloe can do that, and she's got the speed, she's got the consistency, but more than anything else, she's tenacious. You see it every time that she's behind someone you think she's going to attack.
Great to see Jonathan Ray there down in Park Fair, mate, to congratulate Beatrice Neyla. It was good to see him as well on Friday, asking the number 36 what the track conditions were like after the first free practice session on Friday the 3rd. At Balloton Park Circuit. So, we're about to hear from our race 2 winner. Beatrice Neyla is down with Alvaro.
Beatrice, amazing win to finish the weekend here in Balloton Park. How was race 2?
Yeah, amazing, yeah. I'm super happy today. I'm super happy. Yesterday, only happy, but today no. Today, super happy. And yeah, finish today in P1 is for me good, because that means that the championship is still a little bit hot and close. And yeah, I will still working a lot and focus on myself like always. And yeah, I'm super happy. Thank you to my team, because they support are amazing, and also to my family. And yeah, this victory is for Pau, and yeah, Paul, it's for you.
Huge congratulations, enjoy it.
Beatrice Naylor. Let's get some word then in Hungarian. We saw a great Super Pole race, and that WorldWCR race did not disappoint.
Well, congratulations and many thanks there to Alvaro Adama for the interview, and of course to Steve English and Anthony Nelson for the commentary. But well done again to Bea Naylor, and what a lovely gesture as well there, James Towson. The fact that as we see her coming over the line for another victory in race 2, just as Bea did at Donington last time out, dedicating the victory there to the fallen Pau Alsina, who we awfully lost less than a week ago in an accident at Motorland Aragon in Spain.
Yeah, everybody here at TNT Sports, we wish all the very, very best to the family and friends of him. It was an awful loss. It's been a really difficult couple of months for fatalities in motorcycle racing, and we want to send our best to everybody involved.
Yeah, especially as you say, it's been an awful few weeks after the loss of Borja Gomez as well, the HRC test rider and Spanish race there after a Manicure incident. So the start of the race there, it was a good one, wasn't it, for Chloe Jones? We knew she was coming from the middle of that second row of the grid, James, in 5th place. Just talk us through Chloe's start. We're looking at the orange bike there, 5th on the grid.
Yes, it was okay. It wasn't brilliant, but look at Bea Naylor around the outside, and Chloe Jones just getting a little bit elbow to elbow there with the girl in front just at the side of number 46. She did lose a couple of places, but they went wide, didn't they? And then Chloe Jones's inside line was just able to pick a few off on turn 2, get back into position in that 5th place, pick a couple off, but she did very, very well to get back up to the leading couple of riders.
Yeah, she certainly did. And again, we're seeing the patience, we're seeing the maturity now, that newfound maturity in Chloe. Don't forget, she had a broken arm in a crash earlier on. She's only been riding fully fit since Donington 2 weeks ago, and then the progress continued as well as she fought her way up towards the front of that race.
She did. The momentum's there, the confidence is there. You can see in her interview, thanking all the family and friends. This is coming on to the start and finish straight here. Maria Herrera, obviously, this is Bea Naylor taking the lead of the race around the outside of Maria Herrera. What a statement that is. But Chloe Jones looking on the inside again, underneath Maria as well. So Maria Herrera from 1st to 3rd, as Brent Gladwin has a bit of a wry smile on his face as this young girl has a brilliant performance here in race 2 at Hungary.
Yeah, that really strengthens Chloe's top 5 position in the championship as well. And surely the win is coming, isn't it? I'd be very surprised if it doesn't come before the end of the season. Brent had already pinpointed Jerez, so we've got 2 more rounds. It'll be great if it happens.
It will. And Magny-Cours is next. And Magny-Cours is possibly one of the hardest braking race circuits. We know how much Top Rack likes that, and we know how much confidence Chloe Jones has on the front of her R7.
What do you think has made the difference? What's Chloe doing right? We've seen her, as we said before, in the Super Teens, British Junior Supersport. She's now travelling as well, Europe for the first time, James. Very, very different kettle of fish.
She's getting used to everything. She's getting used to the travel. She's getting used to being in the paddock, in a new family. It's like a new school for her. And she's getting used to how to ride an R7 to its limits. And her confidence has gone from getting that first podium in Donington Park, brought it here, and just kept the momentum going.
It's amazing what you can do, Chloe, with 2 working arms, isn't it, after that arm breaking accident in testing earlier on in the season. So well done, Chloe Jones. Well done to Bea Naylor there as well. And also, of course, Maria Herrera, who was victorious here in the opening race on Saturday. We'll be back shortly at 20 to 1. But head over now to Brands Hatch here on TNT Sports 2 for BSB.
TNT Sports, powered by Endura.
The new sneaker season is upon us. Mark your cards for tomorrow and the starts of the Shanghai Masters as a star-studded lineup, including Ronnie O'Sullivan, go head-to-head in China.
There's never an easy day. You just got to keep smiling and remember who you're doing it for. That's why I bank with Monzo. Their under-16s account helps me keep track of my kids' spending. That's little Josh using his card now.